Western Conference Final, new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions.
What is going on, everyone? It is Luca here, back with the Raptors Nation podcast. Hope you're all doing well on this Thursday, February 20th, as the Raptors, it feels like they have been out of action for a while, but they will finally return to action tomorrow night when they take on the Miami Heat. So wanted to drop this pod before that game. In today's show, wanted to talk about some of the notes at practice today. We're going to get into some unfortunate news that occurred yesterday involving a young Raptors big, and then we're going to open it up Q&A style as the Raptors' second half of the season will begin on Friday, as there are, 27 games left for this season. So this NBA season is very quickly winding down as the Toronto Raptors look to position themselves in terms of their draft lottery odds when looking at their Tankathon standing right now. But before we dive right into it, guys, do me a solid, drop a like on the video, smash that subscribe button, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your favorite podcast. You can find this on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. So let's get into it. And I first wanted to talk about some of the news and notes from practice today. Scottie Barnes, he wants to win. He does not want to tank. And of course, this isn't surprising because what player is going to flat out say we're going to lose games? I'm surprised this question was even asked, but this question was popped up at practice today as the Raptors, they did have their full squad. And Scottie Barnes was asked about kind of the tank. This is via Josh Lewenberg, how fans are excited about the upcoming draft lottery. And Barnes basically was blunt about it. He said, I don't really give a damn about it. Trying to go out there and win games, try to possibly make something happen so they can be excited for that. But my mindset, it's in a different place, right? So Scottie Barnes, he doesn't give a damn about the tank. And then Barnes went on to say, I look at the standings every day. We're still in that fight. We still can make something happen. That's my motivation when I look at it. I see that we still have a chance. We feel like we still want to win. So, of course, Scottie is going to say that. It's encouraging that he's saying that. I mean, you don't want your best player, face of the franchise, to say, yeah, we're packing it in. We're going to take the last 27 games off. I'm surprised that question was even asked. It's kind of one of like those things you don't mention. At this point, it's kind of just understood. But Scottie, I mean, he doesn't care to sit back and play for the draft lottery. And that's just the competitor in him. That's just him wanting to go out there and win and play hard. But the reality is the Raptors, they're not going to win a whole bunch of games as long as, BI is still sidelined and Jakob Poeltl is sidelined. It's funny because Jakob Poeltl, he actually did practice. He was making positive progression, but now he's been ruled out for Friday. So there's going to be no Poeltl in Friday's game. The Raptors only have one win this season without Jakob Poeltl, ironically, against the Joel Embiid Sixers. But even with Ingram, like, he's not close to return. That's the other interesting note at practice, is that, Rajakovic said he's doing some light work shooting after practice. He's limited with what he can do with his ankle, but his upper body lifting, we can get on that right now. I'm hopeful he'll be able to ramp up his workouts. So right now he's considered bi-monthly in terms of updates on Ingram. Like, he is still nowhere close to return. Grange reported it's going to be at least a month that he's out. And basically, like, from what we've heard, Rajakovic saying, I think it was yesterday, that he's not close. Like, it's going to be a bi-weekly scenario where, like, we're going to monitor it like every 2 weeks. So the season's almost done. I mean, we're already approaching March. So like I said in previous pods, videos, etc., like, I would expect Ingram to play like at least 5 games, but there could also be a world which Brandon Ingram doesn't play at all and he doesn't suit up this season. So that would be kind of wild if Ingram doesn't play at all. That would be surprising to me because I would assume that we are going to see Ingram in some capacity before the season's done. But right now, kind of the verbiage coming out of practice and stuff like that, it doesn't seem like Ingram is close. So again, going back to Scottie wanting to go out there and wanting to win, this team is still going to be underwhelmed in a lot of the games without obviously BI and Jakob Poeltl. But what could be, I guess, concerning if you are fully on board with the tank is, you look at the Raptors schedule, and I'll pull it up here real quick. Let me just share my screen. And here's the reality, guys. Like, 6 of the Raptors' next 7 matchups come against playoff-esque teams. So, like, against Miami without Poeltl, that's going to be a tough game to win, even though they're at home. But, I mean, the Raptors seem to play well against the Heat. So, we'll see about that. They got the Suns. They've kind of been a mess this season, but nonetheless, they're fighting for a playing spot. The Celtics, Pacers, Bulls, Magic, who are now, getting healthy. So, let's just call it 6 out of their next 7 are against playoff-esque teams. But then this is where it gets interesting. So you have Scottie, who seems motivated to put his best foot forward. I would assume by March 7th, Jakob Poeltl is back. The only player that's not going to be back at this point is Brandon Ingram, unless other injuries happen between now and then. But let's just say March 7th rolls around. The Raptors are going to be healthy minus Ingram. They're going to enter the easiest stretch. And it is, I think, the easiest remaining schedule in the NBA. And you're going to see why. So in the Raptors' last 20 games, guys, take this in. They got the Jazz twice. They got the worst team in the NBA, Washington Wizards, 3 times. They got the Philadelphia 76ers, who might be a part of that tank, twice. They got the Blazers twice. They got the Hornets twice. They got the Nets twice. They got the Bulls one more time. And then they got the Spurs 2 more times. And before today, I wouldn't include the San Antonio Spurs in that playing a bad team category, but not sure if you guys missed the big news. Wemby's out for the rest of the season with a blood clot issue. And prayers go out to Wemby. I hope he can recover for next season. Very, very unfortunate news. So all of a sudden, that's like 17 of the final 20 games are against like very, very poor teams. And like those other games, Mavericks, April 11th, like the Mavs might be dead in terms of like how many injuries have hit them. The Pistons are still the Pistons. And then they got the Suns and the Warriors. So like 16 of the next 20 are going to be against pretty bad teams. And then even those 4 aren't against like amazing teams. So the last 20, it's going to be tough for that tank, especially considering the Raptors are going to be healthy. Maybe BI's back for the last bit of the schedule, last 6 games. So that's where I'm personally concerned, because for as much as you want to hear Scottie come out and say we want to win, I don't care about the tank. I'm looking at the standings. As a fan, like, you do not want to see this. You don't want to see the Raptors all of a sudden look at the situation. The bottom of the East is bad, and they want to win a ton of games and go for the play-in. That would be the worst-case scenario here. But by their schedule design, man, it might be a reality where this team starts rolling out wins. Like, can you honestly see the Raptors out-tanking the Wizards, the Nets in those matchups, the Jazz, the Blazers? Like, the Raptors are going to win those games, guys. So unless, like, they get strategic about sitting guys out, other injuries pop up, like, that's what I'm concerned about. Because I don't think the Raptors bad is as bad as these other teams bad. Like, the Raptors are better than those teams that they're about to take on. So I guess I'm not ready to like foregone conclusion say the Raptors are going to be like bottoming out, because we don't know, right? Like, we don't know how they're going to look in those games against these other lesser teams. And that's what the, I guess, bad part is about their schedule. It sucks that it wasn't flipped and like their hardest teams came up. Like, these are all teams that are going to be bottoming out, and we're going to see some ugly basketball probably, but I don't know. It's crazy because at the end of the day, like, Barbecue's healthy, they're winning these games. If Barbecue and Poeltl are healthy, even without Ingram, they're beating the Wizards, they're beating the Nets, they're beating the Bulls, they're beating the Jazz. You know, they'll split against the Blazers, they'll split against the Sixers. But if Barbecue's healthy and Poeltl and they're playing those guys, like, they're going to win those games. So that's where it might get a little bit nerve-wracking if you are on Team Tank like myself. So that's something to look out for down the stretch here. Who's available, who's playing, and we'll see what happens with that. But we did expect to see a lot of the young guys over the last 27 games, and that's fully what do I expect. But what's unfortunate is Ulrich Chomche is out for the season. So this sucks with Ulrich Chomche being out. Unfortunately, this came out of nowhere yesterday. About this was a guy in Chomche who had played, I believe, 7 games with the Raptors most recently. Played against Joel Embiid and the Sixers. That one game they were able to win without Pirtle featured him. And you look at Chomche, he's going to miss the rest of the season with a partial MCL tear in his right knee. And they're targeting Summer League for his return per Lewinberg. So that's very unfortunate. Chomche, NBA's youngest player. We're expected to see a whole ton of him down the stretch. And now you're not going to see him. So that sucks. The Raptors are very thin with their backcourt depth, with obviously Olynyk. With the Pelicans, we're going to see more of Mobo at that small ball 5 as long as Pirtle is sidelined. And then they basically just have Orlando Robinson as the only true backup center. So the Raptors are going to be really thin with that front court. And we're probably going to see them cycle through a bunch of players now with their 10-day contract because they did just sign Jared Rhoden to a 10-dayer. And how 10-day contracts work is the Raptors can sign him to one more. And then after that, you either got to sign him to a standard deal or a two-way contract or just simply release him and then sign a different guy. So I think we're going to see that route over the last 27 games of the Raptors just kind of taking a flyer and a bunch of players similar to last season. But it's unfortunate with Chomche. I thought this would have been valuable for him because next season you expect the Raptors to be competitive. So he's probably not going to he's not going to play a ton. He's still ways away in terms of being a reliable, obviously, rotation player. He's still so young. So this was going to kind of be his opportunity in these last 27 games when the Raptors are trying to, in theory, lose games. You're going to see a lot more of Chomche, but now he's out. So we're not going to see Chomche until Summer League. So that kind of, hinders his development for now. But it was nice to see him. Obviously, he still got ways to go with his game, but he did show a lot of good things with his defensive upside. And so the Raptors, that's still probably going to be their MO. We're going to see a lot of the rookies, obviously. Expect a lot of Mobo, Shed, Walter, Grady Dick. Hopefully he could get it going. I feel like he's fallen back a bit with his consistency, especially. That's a guy who's going to go back to a bench role in all likelihood next season. So hopefully he can end the season strong. But that's basically where you're going to see in this final 27 outside of Barbecue and Pirtle. And the pending return of Ingram is the young guys are going to get a whole lot of playing time. So these are going to be valuable reps for those young players. And again, it's just unfortunate that Chomche is not going to be a part of that equation now since he got hurt. And this injury seemingly just, was unexpected and came out of nowhere. So we're wishing Chomche the best. Hopefully he can have a speedy recovery and we'll see what the Raptors do. For now, like I said, they're thin. You got Mobo as a small ball center, Pirtle, who's still not back, and Orlando Robinson. And then that 10-day contract, we'll see, what they do with that. But right now, they got Rhoden on the 10-dayer. So, all right, guys. So for the final bit of the pod, obviously there's not a whole ton to talk about. We are in a down period. Things are going to pick up in terms of the news cycle once the Raptors start playing games again tomorrow. So just wanted to keep this pod relatively short. I know it's an early start time, so we got a few people in here. But if there's any Q&As to kind of end the pod here, we'll end on that. The Raptors, they will be in action again tomorrow night against the Miami Heat. And then it's back to the regular schedule for them, right? Sunday, they got the Suns. Tuesday, they got the Celtics. And they got 27 games left as we approach the end of the season. As the Raptors, if you look at where they're at right now, just to do a update. And what I mean is the Tankathon standings. The Raptors got the 5th worst record. They're 17-38. They have a 3.5 game cushion on Philly and Brooklyn. They're 2 back of Charlotte in the reverse standing. Charlotte beating the Lakers last night was actually a big result for the Raptors, and they're 3.5 back of the Jazz for the third worst record in the reverse standing. So, as I said earlier, I don't think the Raptors are going to get into the bottom three. It's going to be very tough for them to do so. As I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it. But Charlotte, I mean, 2 back, that's doable. So I would say best case scenario, you get into the bottom 4, you get that number 4 worst record. Worst case scenario is if like these teams pass the Raptors, and there's a world where it can happen, guys. Again, right now they're comfortably sitting with a big lead on these teams of Philly, Brooklyn, Chicago, Portland, San Antonio. But how's this going to look at the end of March? That's what I'm afraid of, because you start winning some games, you start losing some games if you're these teams, all of a sudden the Raptors can drop. And there's honestly a world they can drop to the number 10 spot, because San Antonio is going to be tanking now. You better believe they are with Wemby out. Portland, they were hot, but now they've lost 3 in a row. Chicago might not win another game. Like, they're horrible right now. They've lost 4. Brooklyn's won 3 in a row, surprisingly, but I expect them to fall back to reality. And then Philly's the interesting team. I still think they're going to try to push for the play-in, but right now they're doing the opposite. They're losing. They've lost 5 in a row. So worst case scenario, the Raptors fall to 10. Like, there's a world that could happen if the Raptors win a bunch of games in March. Miami, like, these teams are all going to be fighting for play-in spots, but yeah, we'll see, because then at that point, the Raptors are even in the play-in if they fall to number 10. So that would be a disaster. So let's just say, like, yeah, that would be worst case, because that means you're in the play-in. But, or like close to it. But yeah, hopefully, like, the Raptors, at the very least, they stay at number 5. But I think, like, these teams are going to be on their tail. Like, I think Brooklyn and Chicago especially, like, those teams, San Antonio maybe, if they just all of a sudden just are terrible the rest of the way and don't win. But let's do a little bit of a sim lottery here live. And okay, I'll take this result. Utah wins the draft. Washington gets number 2. Raptors get number 3. They go up 2 spots. So let's hope this happens, guys. That's a pretty good result. I would take that in a heartbeat. T-Dot Finest says, play in, here we come. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't, I certainly wouldn't rule it out, man, because I just showed you a bunch of bad teams that are coming up, a bunch of bad teams in general. Like, even the Heat have lost 4 in a row. I don't expect the Heat to be a part of that bottom picture, but there's a lot of bad teams in the East, man. And right now I'm looking at it, like, the East standings. So what I said earlier, like, if the Raptors fall to 10, that means they're a playing team, because yeah, right now the Bulls have the 10th playing spot. And man, if you're looking at it, like, Raptors are 5 games out of the playing spot. It seems like it's a lot, but it's not a lot, especially when you look at the schedules. So they're 5 game back of a playing spot. So they're actually, closer to a playing spot than they are at the worst team, which is crazy. But yeah, yeah, hopefully that doesn't, hopefully that doesn't happen. Look, I'm choking on my own words at the at the thought of getting a playing spot. Man, if the Raptors, and you know what's funny? Like, let's just play like hypothetical right now. I'd be upset. I think a lot of people would. A lot of people wouldn't, because they want to see this team win. But like, me personally, I'd be upset. But let's just say the Raptors get the 10 seed. You know what's crazy? Raptors get the 10 seed. Let's just say they wind up taking on the Hawks or even the Heat in that first playing game. They probably win that game. And then you're looking at a matchup of the loser between the Hawks Magic. And then who's to say the Raptors can't win that game either, especially if BI's back? Like, that's crazy. Like, there is a scenario that things hit the fan in terms of a tank, and the Raptors could be playing, as the 8th seed against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But that's when I will say for what? Because you're getting swept by Cleveland. Maybe you win one. That's it. But that's that pathway exists. For as scary as it sounds, there's a pathway where the Raptors are playing the Cavaliers as the 8th seed. Yeah, of course, John. As I said earlier, they have to say that. Like, it would have been alarming, actually, if Scottie said, yeah, like, we're going to try to lose every single game. You don't want your team's franchise guy to speak like that. So it's nothing crazy about it. You think 5th, 6th, or 7th? No, I don't see the Raptors a part of that. No way. Not this season, unless you're talking about next season. Yeah, look, Six Canada, they are tanking. Bobby already confirmed it, and I covered that. But again, like, you look at the schedule, you look at the teams that they got to be worse than. I don't think it's going to be as linear as we think. If this team is healthy, like, again, even with OBI, if you have Pirtle and Barbecue, you're going to win a lot of those games. The only way, yeah, if you shut guys down, but are they really going to shut down a healthy young core that you haven't seen much of to this point of the season? Like, the Raptors are definitely not going to do that. You've been dying to see what Barbecue can give you over the course of a large enough sample size. So now's your opportunity. And it's like, it's the worst time to have these guys fully healthy, but I don't see them shutting guys down. I don't see them taking that course of action. The Raptors are honorable in that sense. Like, Bobby can say, yeah, we're tanking, but I don't see them having like ghost injuries or going down that route. I don't. So as long as you have those guys there, they're going to be competing. So that's the tricky part of all this. I think you have a team with management that wants to go out and bottom out, but you have a team with players that doesn't. Like, these players, they're hungry. They want to win. They don't care about what I have to say or other people have to say. Like, think about it. If you're in their shoes, you're a young player like Scottie Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. Like, you want to win. Like, you don't want to settle for next season. But that's where you get the complications of what's going to happen here. You're going to have a very interesting situation of which side will prevail, the tank or the players wanting to win. And again, it doesn't help that the Raptors are entering the easiest part of their schedule when you are trying to lose as many games as you can. And there's going to be a bunch of teams a part of that tankathon. So it'll be interesting. There's definitely a lot to play out here in these final 27 games. Who said these final 27 games were not going to mean anything? There's a lot of uncertainty with where this team is headed and where they're going to be. Call it a month from now. What conversation are we having a month from now? Are we having the Raptors did this right and they're terrible and here comes the draft lottery? Or, oh, shoot, the Raptors are 2 games back, a game back of a playing spot? So there's I think it'll be interesting to see how they come out of this break for sure. Like, they're playing their toughest competition out of this break. So let's just say they lose 6 in a row or 6 of their next 7. You feel good about the tank. But if they come out and they steal one against Miami, which I think they can beat Miami, even with Pirtle, Phoenix hasn't impressed anyone. The Celtics, yeah, okay, you'll lose that one, but like, even 6 of their next 7, like, maybe you split one against Philly. There's a world where the Raptors might get 3 wins over this next 7 at a minimum. 5th, 6th, or 7th worst record. It'll be like I said, it'll be interesting. I think San Antonio adds another team, which isn't good if you're the Raptors, because like, that's a team in the Spurs that before the Wemby injury, I thought for sure they were going to be fighting for a playing spot. But now that Wemby's gone for the season, like, they're going to fully shut him down. Like, at this point, you might as well get Fox that. I think he's got to get like thumb surgery. You might as well shut that team down and come back next season guns a-blazing, because as you see here on the Tankathon, the Spurs have the 10th worst record, and they're probably going to have such a unethical tank the rest of the way, because we know the Spurs, they are not shy when it comes to tanking or trying to hide their tank. So I think San Antonio will definitely be a part of that tank equation. And then Philadelphia is the other interesting team. I think Philadelphia, I'm interested to see where they're at. Like, they're doing a bunch of losing right now, but I think for as long as they don't shut down Embiid, that basically signals that they're going for it, because they believe that their team can get hot. And let's call it for what it is. Philadelphia is the most intriguing playing team. For as much as I think they are a bad team, like, they're still a team that, like, if they get hot at the right time and they're in that playing spot, they could be an interesting team that makes some noise and gets in as like a dangerous 7th or 8th seed. So I think that's what they're holding out for. I think unless they literally shut down Embiid, like, Philly's going to try to win games. But if you see them shut down Embiid, like, they're tanking. I think that will be telling of that. Raptors need to tank, no plan. Yeah, I agree, but we'll see. Like I said, they're going to have some opponents that are flat out bad. And those are going to be some ugly tankathons when the Raptors got to try to lose to the likes of the Jazz, the Blazers, and the Nets, and the Hornets, and the Wizards. Like, they're playing a bunch of bottom-esque teams, which doesn't bode well for them. Like, the Wizards, nobody's catching them. New Orleans, we haven't mentioned them, but I don't expect New Orleans to all of a sudden go on a heater. So we will see what happens, guys. But anyways, that's going to conclude today's pod, guys. Just want to do a quick one. Like I said, we'll have more to talk about once the season gets back underway. So Raptors, they take on Miami, and we will get back to it on Friday and beyond. So make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we will see how the Raptors look coming out of this break. We'll see if this team is going to win all of a sudden, or they're going to start dropping a ton of games and just play homage to the tank. These are all questions coming out of the break. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hit a like, subscribe on your way out, and I will catch you all again in the next one.